Hello, nagkita na naman tayo. Mga friends ko at yung mga subscribers ko, pinagtsatsagaan yung panoorin yung aking venue. So I'm here actually in the library, Palmerston North Library, kasi mayroon ditong event, open book, so iba't ibang cultural communities. So I am here to support Miriam, isa sa mga officers ng PCA. So isa siya sa mga panelists. Ang kasama din niya ang asawa niya, councilor ng Palmerston North. So panoorin nyo na lang mamaya. Ay, samahan nyo ako.
Information, coping with the adjustment from their own countries, language challenges, forming community connections, and balancing their own traditions with traditions that they might see here in New Zealand. And we will finish off with some tips of wisdom from them that may help you as you go through. So to introduce you to our great panellists here today, we're going to start off with Chuda Jimere, and he comes from Bhutan, and he's on the end, and we will get our other gentleman here soon. He's involved with refugee resettlement, advocating and supporting the disability sector, and also our older generations, which is great. We have on the end here Anne Odogwu, as president of the Scandinavian Club, born in New Zealand. She's a book author, and we'll hear a little bit about that later on as we go through. And she's very much been involved with the World on Stage and the Songs of Praise that the MMC put on each year here in Palmerston North. So when you see that published, come along. They are both wonderful events, which is fantastic. And she's also lived in Denmark and Italy as well too. So she will have some interesting factors for us. And then we come to Miriam Finlay in the middle there, former president of the MMC, and has lived for 30 years here in New Zealand, and so she will have 30 years of experience to pass on to you today. She's from the Philippines and is very much involved in our multicultural council. I will just tell you the other person is Muhammad Ali Karami, and he comes from Afghanistan, involved there in construction, board member for the MMC, and is studying English at the English Teaching College. So he will come along when he arrives, and we will carry on with questions for him then. You might sneak. If you've got any questions of our panellists, we'll see how we get on through the discussion itself. If we have time left at the end, we will open it up to questions that you may have from comments that they may have made through the afternoon. Or if we run out of time.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chuda. I was born in a small country in the Asian continent, that is in Bhutan. And a long time ago, when I was born and started growing up, there was a problem in the country, and my parents flew from the country. So when I left my country at that time, I was 11 years old. After that, I grew up in the refugee camp. I was in the refugee camp for 18 years before I came to New Zealand. And in the refugee camp, it was like a prison. We were not allowed to go out from the premises, and there are a lot of difficulties and challenges for the children's life. After that, when I was growing up, the country, they decided to, everybody was scattered everywhere. I have got 8 brothers and sisters. I saw only 2 of them when I departed from the camp. Some of them I able to meet after resettling in New Zealand, but some of them still I am not able to meet them. So I don't know where I was going, and I don't know what is New Zealand. Is it a country or it is the name of a bird? I have never heard it. Because in the refugee camp, we don't have any internet, computer systems, and we were just like a frog in a small pond. If you try to jump out, we will be die. So we preach up our life in that way. So I got an opportunity to get settled in New Zealand in 2008. So I came to New Zealand through the refugee quota, which is organized by UNHCR, and it was not my choice, it is the choice of the UNHCR. When they asked me, would you like to settle in New Zealand? I said yes, because I was wondering about to find my answer of who am I. When I was living in the refugee camp, we don't have any identity. If anybody asks you, who are you? We can't say I'm the citizen of this country, I'm the people of this country, we don't have any our identity. We are not allowed to work outside, we are not allowed to get proper treatment, we are not allowed to get proper education due to the lack of identity. So when I got the opportunity, I realized that I was always trying to find the answer of that question, who am I? Now, I spent half of my life in the refugee camp. Now, one day I will be family members, I will be a dad, and what can I say to my children? So if I get settled, if I not get chance for me, I hope I will let my children know that you are the citizen of this country if I get settled. Taking this in mind, I settled in New Zealand in 2008. That is the short journey of my life coming to New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. I think you're going to hear stories today similar to that of displacement.
I'm the eldest of 7 children. Both my parents are entrepreneurs. I live in a small town, Tacorong, very closely knit people, and I grew up in a public market. That's why I like to talk to people all the time, because at the age of 9, I already have my own business. I go out on Sundays and put a display, and every profit of that of the items that I sell is for my own pocket. So when I was 14, my father was killed, and that's when I started questioning about life. Why am I here for? Why are my parents? Despite of the goodness of my parents, why is he killed? Why is he killed and everything? And then it was my mother's decision to send me to Manila to study. But Manila, being a province girl and going to Manila, a very busy city, I get discriminated sometimes because of the way I act, because I'm very conservative. And so when they asked me where you come from, and I said, I'm from Tacorong, Sultan Kudarat. I emphasize, and they would say, oh, that's a Muslim town. And I said, yes. And I said, if you don't behave well to me, you can get beheaded, you know. And that's my threat to them, because they seem to be the city girl seems to be discriminating the province girl. So that's how I've lived. And life was hard because my mother was the only one supporting us. And so when I finished my university, I went back home and started a business. But then I decided, after 3 years, I said, being in this business would make me a spinster for life. So I said, I'll do teaching instead. Teaching instead. So a technological school opened at our city, and I was the founding teacher for hotel and restaurant management, and I was able to take my students to the city for internship, for hotel experience, and because I made a timeline of my life that if at the age of 25, if I'm not married, I'm gonna be a nun. Because I'm no longer Catholic, I said I'm gonna go to full-time ministry. So I went into full-time ministry despite of my mother's. He was really annoyed and angry because I was no longer her second hand in earning money for my siblings. So I went in there, but I realized that being in the full-time ministry is like living in a controlled environment. So I said, oh, this is not for me.
Sounds like marriage.
Yeah, I know. So when my uncle asked me, would you like to come to New Zealand? And I said, what for? I said, I'm enjoying my life here. And then something happened that I said, oh, I really need to do something about my life because I can't go back to my family because Christchurch to Invercargill. That's when I said, oh, this was my childhood dream because I was going past the hills and everything, and I said, I remember the sound of music. Then I said, and when Maria, and I said, that the hills and everything was just came back to me. I said, I really wish that to be on that place one day.
Also to Mohammed, who's arrived now, and introduce him. So welcome, Mohammed. And I'm going to put the same question to you, Mohammed. What was your background and why did you choose New Zealand?
My background is a very long story. I will talk about my background. It's maybe 2-3 days, not 1 hour. Because I'm from Afghanistan. And I live in Iran 25 years. And live in Fiji 5 years. And now it's 6 years I live in New Zealand. This short story. You want, I continue the details.
Well, we can do short, but it's okay. You just tell us a little bit about that and why you chose New Zealand. You just speak from your heart. That's all we ask.
20 years ago or 18 years ago, I bought one magazine in Iran reading about the Zealand No, not New Zealand. The name in the magazine is Zealand No. I'm reading about the New Zealand. I like New Zealand. I'm thinking about one day I should migrate, go in New Zealand. That plan for that time, I started the plan. After that, I went in go Afghanistan. Afghanistan changed the government. The Taliban gone, the Jumhuriyat coming. I go in Afghanistan, start work, make company, construction company. I'm the director for that company. And make a contract, subcontract with IOM. 16 project, 18 school and 18 clinic. 2004, 2006, I make it that project. I'm director for that company. After that, I make it another fuel pump for the airplane in the Kabul airport. That name is Dawi I make it that one. And after that, after that go China, Hong Kong. 2 nights live in China. After China, go in Fiji, Nepal. After that, 2 nights live in Nepal, not Nepal, another name. After that, I go, this Nadi, not Nepal, Nadi. After that, go in Samoa. 1 month and 6 nights I live in Samoa. The money in Samoa, money name is not dollar, thala.
Places influence your understanding of different cultures, and have you had any specific experiences that have had an impact on your cultural experiences?
Well, I'm different to these because I was the second. I'm oh. I'll start again. I'm different to these others because I was actually with my two brothers and a sister. We were all the second generation born in New Zealand on our Danish side and on our Italian side. I've chosen to talk about my Italian grandmother because we heard a lot about her from our mother. In 1911, my Italian grandfather, Vincenzo Cotopoli, returned to Italy to marry his Italian bride, Maria Angela Copperudo. Our mum Rosa said they had no wish to immigrate to the USA, as every time an American ship was in the Naples port, there were escapes from the prison, and those people were never heard of again. So guess where they probably were. Our grandparents brought out a lot of Italian jewellery and sold it in a shop in Napier. They then bought land in Longlands, Hastings, which Granddad turned into an orchard, and he used to win gold medals. Our grandmother, or grandma in English, not only had 5 children, but had 5 miscarriages. Our grandma did not have good health, as she suffered with severe asthma after coming to New Zealand, and at times spent months in hospital. When Alma was little, our auntie, she was in hospital with her mum. Mum told us stories from Grandma. Why can't I understand my own children speaking in English and when I understand others? Mum said the children sat at one end of the table, burbling away in English, and the Italian speakers were at the other end. When Grandma wanted to buy sheets, our mum had to ask, as Grandma knew her pronunciation in English, shits did not sound nice. At the time of the Hawke's Bay earthquake, Grandma was walking to and from the kitchen all the time, carrying her precious preserves to where the family had set up a camp. Grandma died on the 7th of August 1936 as a result of the asthma, which was a result of living in New Zealand. Our grandfather had visited the home of her former doctor as his medication helped her, but his wife said he never wrote the recipes. So that
Was that?
bad luck for Grandma. So that's...
No, that's excellent. Thank you so much for that, Anne. And back to you, Miriam. How has your cultural background influenced your experiences as a migrant?
I think the Filipino hospitality really helped me because most Filipinos that I've met have opened their home in welcoming me, and it was, and also we're friendly. It was at the New World Shop in Foxton when we met the founding president of the Philippine Central Association, when Lou said, "Oh, you really need to start a Filipino community because there are so many Filipino women now coming here and Filipino families coming over here, and they don't have a support group." And through that suggestion, Ramon and Cora Herrera took the initiative to start the Philippine Central Association. That was 31 years ago. Yeah.
That's great. And also Filipino ladies are very good singers as well too.
Yeah, true.
As you may know. Been to the Philippines a couple of times and even joined them up on stage. Only miming though, because my voice is not that good, so I can say the words that are mine. Thank you, Miriam. And also, Miriam, what were some of the most significant challenges you encountered during your first few years in New Zealand, and how did you overcome them?
Well, being outspoken sometimes can make you isolated because some people would avoid you.
I've never heard anybody say that about you, Miriam.
Being outspoken can be sometimes a hindrance because some people would avoid you. And so when I was raising my children, Lou had a stroke when my second child was born, and we had to shift here for his rehabilitation. And at that time, Cora and Ramon have helped us, and also our community have helped us from providing appliances for the house, and also my Christian friends from Foxton. We have a community of Christian friends that comes, and so when my first child was born, I have encountered the blessing of having that meal train that everyone in the community provided me a meal. And then when I shifted to Leuven, the same thing happened. But when I was here in Palmerston North, nothing happened. There was no meal train after my third one was born, and then at that time I really felt isolated. So I said I need to do something about this circumstances. So I said, so when my eldest child got involved, went into Kinday, I got involved with a committee and got myself busy. And then I said, oh, I'd like to get more involved with the community. And then I became involved with the Philippine Central Community as one of their social and cultural committee member, organizing activities for the Filipinos, like Easter egg hunt and picnic and everything. And so when 1997, Cora asked picnic center and talked to the people, and it was like my home really. And then they asked me to be involved in the committee, and I was in the social committee and organized the potluck dinner in 2003, and that's how
That is fantastic, Miriam. Thank you for that. And if any of you out there get bored, go along to the centre. That's the place to go apparently. So, and we don't like Miriam being bored. That's not good at all. That's terrible. Tudor, I'm going to ask you the same question. What were your initial challenges and how did you overcome them?
For me, the initial challenges are most of the essential things like language, food, culture, marketing, housing, education, and health. When I first came in New Zealand, I was totally new to everything. So I had to start like a newborn baby because the marketing system was different where I grew up. And still now, when you go to Nepal or India, you can just go straight to the shop and you can ask the shopkeeper, what do you want? You can't touch anything. But when you come to New Zealand, it's totally different. And for health as well, there is no appointment system. Only nowadays it's improving, but in past days we don't have appointment systems. I have seen number of young babies, those who are cuddled on their mom's lap has been died because they didn't get time to see the doctor. Many of the child they died when the moms are on the line to see the doctor. And the other thing is the culture. I realized I was the first people from my country to come to New Zealand here in Palmerston North. And I realized after that some more people are coming to New Zealand. And I started thinking about my elderly people, those who are coming from my country. Most they have never been to school. Only the new generation they have been to the schools. But elderly people, most of the elderly people, they had never been to school. So when they came here, I started thinking about them because they are isolated and they are left behind. They were not able to discuss or make a conversation with their children because children in the south is speaking English. The grandparents they can't. Children go out. The grandparents they cannot. The new generation can go to work, but the elderly people they cannot go to work. They don't have a language. Before I came, but that did not equivalent to New Zealand. So I have to start from the beginning. In the same way for the transportation and culture. Culture is the most important part that I put in my head because most of my elderly people, those who come in our community from overseas, they are very strict in the culture and tradition. And the new children, new generation, they are totally different. They learn quickly and they adopt quickly, but it's very hard to motivate the elderly people. And I started from the ending of our life, like when we die, what we do in our culture and what we do in New Zealand. What is the difference? Whether we are allowed to follow our own culture for the funeral service or not. So we started from there, and it was very difficult to find a benchmark. But after a couple of conversations with the funeral director, we have made an agreement with the funeral director saying that, they can do this much and we can do this much. So we set a benchmark, what we can do and what we cannot do. So as per our culture, we have to cremate within 24 hours because the son and children, the family members, they will stay without any meals till they cremate the body. So now we are able to do all the cremation of funeral service within 24 hours. So I would like to thank from here for the funeral director as well. So this is what, these are the challenges and how I overcome with some of this. Mostly the addressing and advocacy. I prefer don't stay at home. Try to get involved. If you spend $5 for a coffee, it will meet 5 people. And one day, if you get a job or try to apply a job, if you don't have anybody who to put as a referee, you can put those people, those who you meet in a coffee. They will become as your friend, they will become as your parent, they will become your guardians. That is my advice. Thank you.
And your cultural identity with adapting to the customs and traditions here in New Zealand.
Very big and important question. Not only for me, all people move this country to another country, their own culture and new culture, the big challenge. Not one, not two. My brother said a lot, same, not different. Because you want to apply for job, you filling the form, need 2-3 people, you're showing this paper, know me. You can't find that paper because you're not coming here. Who found that paper where? That's the big problem. Another problem for the own culture. The old generation follow my own culture, and the young generation is no understand our culture because the young generation study the new culture in New Zealand. The mother tongue, everything is finished. It's should be all community. Our community make plan for that. One make it Farsi class for the new generation. I teach in my own language. writing, reading, listening, and talking. That's the important part, because the young generation grow up in New Zealand all talking English, not talking my language. Should be. I'm thinking about our language. Not only me, all refugee people come here or another not refugee and migrate come New Zealand should be thinking about our culture, because after one generation, new generation come, it's gone. Everything is gone. No understand who my father, who my mother, which country, which language. That's another problem for the new migrate come here. The first is language, because all come here no understand properly English, not talking English, and no understand the marketing. What do you buy it? What do you sell it? What can I do that? And another one is the transport. The people come here, no understand driving in New Zealand, because my country driving the right way, and New Zealand driving the left way. It's different, and the string and everything is different. Not only our country, all Asian countries same. A lot of issues have the new migrant come here. Should you make a plan? What do you manage it for old culture, for new culture? Because everything is same, not different. Should be you join it yourself, the new culture. I'm thinking about that.
Thank you for that. Are you driving on our roads? Because if you can give me a list of where you're going to be, we'll move to some other roads.
Now I have truck driver lessons and level 2, level 3. Now I'm a lot of scared of his New Zealand.
I understand that, and I think one of the key things we're talking about today is community, and the fact that joining communities together. I think the World Fair Day that we had a few weeks ago, I think was a great example of what our city has within the people that are thriving, and it was just wonderful. I really enjoyed the day. It was fantastic, but that was another thing. So
in Denmark for 6 months, as that was where my father's parents were, and I learned the language, but never really had to put it in much use, because most Danes spoke English, because the idea was that the TV was had English subtitles if it was in Danish, and if it was in English it had Danish subtitles, because there were only 5 million or so people living in Denmark. So if they had to translate all university textbooks into Danish, it would have been a very expensive exercise. So that was why they were so fluent in English. Then I went to Italy and I lived in Perugia, which is the oldest city in Italy, just about, as it belonged to the Etruscans. They set it up. And Florence in Italy for 15 months. I did have to use Italian, as they didn't speak English. And we're very puzzled. I was boarding with an Italian family when I was going to the Italian University for Foreigners, and they actually said, were puzzled that I think it was Carter at that time, President Carter, and they said, how come he doesn't speak Italian? So evidently they had no idea how many people were in the United States, etc. One time I was buying, as for the different way that they work, one time I was buying groceries and my boss needed breadcrumbs. So she suggested tiny bits of bread for me to tell them, because she couldn't remember what crumbs was in Italian, and wouldn't have any idea. And so everyone in the shop tried to help out, but no one guessed it because she was cooking. She mainly had lived in Milan, and of course the Milanese have the steak and breadcrumbs, and that isn't the Florentines think they have the best steak in the world, so you don't put it in breadcrumbs. And Italians don't queue, but I learned that I had to look at everyone in the shop before I arrived, as once I thought it was my turn, and I was soon told it wasn't my turn. So I think it's a way of really learning to notice other people, because we just stand behind someone, so you're only looking at their back. Whereas when I went into the grocer shop, I had to look at each person in the shop that was there before I arrived, and also at the butcher's shop, which was a very interesting experience because the butchers actually have the whole beasts hanging up, and the Italian woman would know which part they wanted. So he'd have to go and cut that out. So I think that's enough for that.
Thanks, Anne. That's good. Mohammed, how did you tackle the language problem for you coming to New Zealand, and what strategies did you use to improve your speaking in English?
I study a lot and reading and listening a lot because I'm very young. That's very easy for me learning new language. The young people, that's easy for them. For me, it's a lot of young, 62 years old. That's very hard.
That's very
new language. That's the hardest job for us.
That's good. No, I think language is our language so well, and you're all speaking very good. I know some of you have been here for a bit longer, but I think it's amazing that you have the capability of learning a new language coming from your own country. Sometimes not always. I know young people learn it very quickly, but sometimes we don't come to a new country when we're young. Sometimes we come when we're a little bit older, and sometimes our mind doesn't always grasp the nuances of a different language. So well done for that. Miriam, you've been Palmerston North, I think, for 30 years, I think. And so how would you describe your contribution to our local community since you arrived? And we'd also like to hear a little bit about your role as president of the MMC.
Well, during my term as a president in 2004, I think it was Helen Clark, our Prime Minister, have asked for community groups to put a submission on on managing the settlement support project. And so I wrote a letter at that time, and I passed it on to my predecessors, Uta Wuka, which is a linguistic teacher, and also Gerald Wong. And through their help, we were able to get the contract. And we're one of the 5 cities in New Zealand. In New Zealand, we're able to be able to get the contract, but our one is a unique one because we are managed by NGO, not the city council. We are the only one that were managed by NGO. And so my role as a president at that time, I was constantly teased by the federation. Oh, your society has lots of money. Can you give us? And I said, no. I said, no, because it's not for us.
I was involved in the World on Stage right from the very first one. And
How long has that been going for, Anne? Do you know?
oh gosh. Every other year. Oh, very, since 2011.
2011,
When
that's
we had
good.
the
So
first
that's
one.
at least 7, probably, if we do them every 2 years, so well done.
And I thought of contacting the Polish people in Wellington, and they came up and they did Polish dances for us, wearing their Polish costumes. But then after about the third time, Tania Kopitko took over, and she didn't think that we should invite people from other centres because it was the Pansonal City Council financing us. And we used to have the Greeks, but I got very tired of them. The last
Age concern as well too.
Yeah, there are a few things still going on that we started after resettling in the Palmerston North. One of the things is English language classes is still running on.
Yeah.
So where the other people can come and take a participation, not only learning English, they can at least get involved and just exposed to the wider community. And the other thing is to keep the connection with the elderly people. We have started running the children classes. So we do have our own language classes. We run every once a week, 2 hours. We call it a Nepali school. So our children are learning our own language. We have registered to the Ministry of Education and we are getting some funding from Ministry of Education. So we have been learning that for about 9-10 years. So that is still going on. And some of the issues we raised and that I advocate and started using is driving classes for the newcomers. And
You experience the same things that Muhammad does there?
yes, because we came from the same background as a refugee. Yeah.
Us to be involved in the potluck dinner. We have before the World Stage, we used to have a multicultural potluck dinner where we also have performances, and that was just modified after Alan Yang became a president. We modified.
So, ayan, natapos na yung event.